All right, so I actually don't know what the title of my talk is on the website. I think it's still TBD, but this is now the title of my talk, because I'm going to say some words about local multiplayer. So who am I? As Zoe already said, I am Adriel. I do a lot of different things. Train Jam was probably one of my most favorite things I ever did, which was game jam on a train for 52 hours from Chicago to San Francisco right before GDC in March. So this year was the very first year for that, and it went really well. I had like 60 people, and only one person got really sick, and most people made games. No, it was a fun game watching you not be able to sleep. Anyway, so next year I'm going to have like 80 seats of people worth on this train making games while we're just like traveling through the Midwest of the United States. Another thing I do is I make a game every week. I've been doing this now for 38 weeks, I think. This is week 38 or something. The plan is to sort of do it for a whole year as a design exercise and a motivation exercise, and it's been really interesting. I'm actually giving a talk about it at GDC Europe on Monday, if you're there, at 10 in the morning, which is definitely when everybody wants to be somewhere. I also am currently nomadic. I don't particularly live anywhere. I've been spending a lot of time the last few months in the Netherlands, but for the most part I just sort of travel around and stay with friends, and I don't know, wherever I want to be is where I go. Mostly around Europe and the US, but it's a weird way to live, and I like it. Also, if this talk seems a little scattered, it's because I woke up yesterday to an email saying, hey, I see you're coming to join. Do you want to talk? And I said, yes. What? Well, so you sent it when I was asleep, so I woke up yesterday and read it and said, yes, I'd love to. So why am I here? I don't know. No, so I do actually know why I'm here. This was a joke I put in while I was writing the slides like an hour ago, and I thought it was funny, so I'm keeping it in. I'm here because I make a lot of games, and some of them are local multiplayer, in a way. And also, I really, really, really love local multiplayer for a lot of reasons, and I think that's sort of what I want to spend the crux of this talk talking about, is why I love local multiplayer so much, and Adrian sort of stole a bunch of my reasons. Because my reasons of why I love local multiplayer can actually probably be called like a 10-minute love letter to Game Oven, because I love everything that they do, and I think they sort of exemplify a lot of the reasons why I love local multiplayer so much. One of the really nice things about it is just by the very nature of being local and being near other people is that you get forced into a physical connection a lot of times, which I think is really a unique thing that can happen with games, where you're being put in these situations where you need to touch each other, you need to touch the same thing, or you need to, you're fighting over something, or even just like competitive multiplayer games like Okra or something like that, you're constantly punching each other, and I really enjoy that sort of physical connection that can be caused with local multiplayer. And then you also sort of create these situations where you're putting people into situations that they wouldn't normally be in, whether you're in a darkened skate park playing Weeping Angels, or, you're making custom controllers out of cardboard, or you're just doing all these strange things, or you're both, touching a phone and talking about awkward topics for 20 whatever hours. And I just very much appreciate sort of doing that. Or Lee Alexander wrote a really nice piece the other day about a game that she played that was, you got a person that you had to assassinate in your town. You got their address, you got their name, you got their phone number, and you had to shoot them with a water gun. And it's a fully submersive game where it can happen anytime. I think like bars are off limits or something like that. But it created this really interesting scenario where now all of a sudden she's an assassin, and she has to go and kill this person who she's never met before, she doesn't know them, and you're also being hunted down, you're also going to be assassinated, so you have to sort of, be on guard all the time, and it just sort of, it consumes your whole life and makes you be able to live out this thing that you've never been able to do before, which is a really just, I don't know, it's a very unique thing that, sorry, I'm going to skip this point and go to this point, that I think, that is something that only games can really do. It's the only real medium where you can do all these things and force people to interact, or feel the same thing, or be doing the same thing, or any of those sort of interactions with one another. Because you can watch a movie together and you can feel the same emotions, but you can't really just have that like physical bond and that connection. And then another thing that it does is, with local multiplayers, you can open up a lot of communication. Friend strap for Game Oven, you just sort of talk. Like, one of my favorite things that I've ever done with that game is I sat down with somebody for like 3 hours, and we just sat there and we talked and we talked and we talked. It was somebody I was close with, but I got closer with them because, we're playing this game together. And since, we're just playing a game, you're sort of in this weird safe place where you feel really, really comfortable playing these things and doing these games and putting yourself in a sort of semi-awkward situation. But it's just a game, so it doesn't matter. Nothing is real when you're playing a game, and I think that that's a really nice conclusion to why local multiplayer is really just an important sort of nice genre to play around with. So I love local multiplayer. I think it's wonderful. It makes me happy. Like, it can form intimate bonds. It can form hilarious bonds. It can form competitive bonds, and all those things. Just I like that we can take games which are so often perceived as a thing where you're now antisocial and you're just playing a game all the time, and you can take that and make these really just like meaningful bonds between each other. So moving on from that, my little love letter to multiplayer games. I think like 5 of the games I've made in the past 38 weeks have been sort of local multiplayer in a way, so I kind of just want to show them off because yay. This one was sort of supposed to be like Okra in a way, where you're these guys, and you like can sort of form these bubbles that over time will turn the blocks to your color, and the whole point is to get most of the blocks be your color, but as the other person you can also punch the block or punch the little bubbles and make those go away, or punch each other and shove you all around, so it's sort of like a very competitive, stealing all the blocks kind of thing. And this one is a form of Pong in a way, where you're this little circle and you've got this arm and it swings around, and that's basically all it does. You can move around, swing around, and you're just trying to bonk all these balls into your own goal while trying to, defend your own goal. This one was probably one of my most favorite ones. It's sort of like bashing the keyboard, so each player has their own blocks that they have to explode by hitting the key that corresponds with it. It's all randomized. It's all throughout the keyboard. This one was mostly because I wanted people to have to touch each other. So there's no way that you can hit the 4 while somebody else is hitting the W without just punching each other off and being really mean. This one was basically Pong, except for you could also shoot you could shoot bullets from your little thing here and make your little paddle be smaller and smaller and smaller. It's 2-player, but I took a bad picture of it, so you can't really tell. And this one was probably one of my favorite ones. It's called chess, but with big bear hands. So it's chess, but you have big bear hands. It's probably the best way to describe it. So it's sort of like Surgeon Simulator in a way, where you control the hand with the mouse, and you have to click it, and the hand goes down. You sort of shove the pieces around. When you let go, it switches to the other player. I really like this one because it's dumb. But I'm probably going to put my laptop with all these games over on a table that I think has my name on it after this. I couldn't do it beforehand because I was still writing this talk, but now that it's over, I can put my computer over there. You guys can play all of these. And then this is a slide that sort of doesn't really fit in, but it's something I've been thinking about with local multiplayer. And so I just want to put it out in the air and sort of have other people also thinking about it, because we all love local multiplayer. That is why we're here. We think it's the greatest. The whole physical part of it, the whole being in the same room, and then doing the fighting and the loving and the playing and the blah, 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 blah. But one thing that I feel like a lot of us don't really think about with local multiplayer things is accessibility. People with, physical disabilities or mental disabilities or reasons why they can't do local multiplayer as easily as the rest of us. And I don't know, it's a big question of how do we fix this? How do we address this? How do we sort of go into this and make things a little bit more accessible for everybody? I don't really have an answer, but like I said, it's just something I've been thinking about a lot while we've been sort of talking about local multiplayer, and something I was talking about this morning on my walk over here, and I just wanted to, I don't know, say, hey, let's think about these things, because there's lots of things to think about. So yeah, that's sort of all I have. This is me. That's me. This is also Train Jam. If you want more things about Train Jam, you can follow Train Jam. You can go to the Train Jam website. Right now, it's just all of last year's games, which I think there were some local multiplayer games last year. There was a few really good ones. You can play all of them there, and then next year, hopefully, there's more. So that's it.
So, are there ever going to be local multiplayer games in space?
So space. Let me talk about space.
Because she knows about space.
So one of the things I used to do before making games was I used to build weather satellites, and sort of from conversations about that is talking about stuff in space. And so one of the things I really want to do is a game jam called Space Jam, where you sort of like, you make a whole bunch of games and then you put them on a hard drive or like a self-powered micro console, and then originally the idea was you strap them to a weather balloon and shoot them into space, and they come down and like, hooray, your game has been in space. But I've been trying recently to pursue convincing anybody who has access to a rocket that I can put the games on the rocket and shoot it to space. Yeah, so that's what I've oh yeah, now they can see me. So yeah, that would be super fun. Like if somebody was going up to the International Space Station, like I'm serious here. If anybody has any contacts in a space-related industry that could actually like hook me up with this, because I've like emailed Elon Musk, but he's not going to email me back. But well, so it's going to be a game jam though. So they're going to be little jam games, like a month-long game jam. But like I do really like the thought of like astronauts in space playing like games together. Like, how cool is that? And you can design the game so that they're in zero-G, like, sort of accessibility there. Yes? Ooh, that is... So we have to sort of rely on the ability for aliens to, I guess, decode what we're saying with our information. Like, I mean, we have to, think about that anyway, because they obviously don't speak English or probably, like, program in C++, and they probably don't know what Unity is, but I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, just send out information. I guess I could do that, too. What other questions, now that we've talked about space?
Yeah, I think we can talk about this later more. Brainstorm about games for in space.
Yes.
Right.
Space Jam.
Space Jam. I think that's already a thing, right? Thank you. This is what I wanted always.
I tried to put it here, it fell down, and I didn't want that to happen again.
But yeah. Well, he's shoving you off stage, so bye. Thank you.